thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for bringing me in the loop here with Barry. Barry is awesome. I think everybody should give a big cheer to Barry for everything that he does. So congratulations for a good day. And I'm bringing in my buddy, Patty Carrera, who you know very well. You know her, you love her, you can't live without her. I like to use letterisms, so there we go.
Oh, is she
Hello,
here?
I can't live without you. Hola, Michelle.
Hola,
Hey
Patty. How are you?
Fine, I'm so happy to see you twice today. It's an
Yes.
honor, it's a privilege.
Oh, and
Hey,
for
Michelle,
you worked
nice to see
so
you.
hard. Hi, everybody. You guys, 3 hours with those beautiful songs. Amazing.
I know, but it was so fun. I love it.
OMG. Patty and I have been listening to so much music the last couple of days. I was saying to people at the end that I'm going to be really happy for what we do tomorrow. Like 3 days a week, we do a talk show called the Sync Cafe. And I'm going to be so happy that tomorrow I'm not listening to music and I'm just doing this. It's such a joy just to be able to talk. So guys, you know, first of all, Patty, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me today with Michelle and Barry. Thank you so much for having us. So
yeah, and Barry, you're here because you had mentioned you wouldn't be at this panel, so that's a
I
treat.
couldn't stay away. You guys are pretty fun.
What a treat! What a treat!
Thank you. So guys, do we want to start off by just giving people a little bit of information of who we are, and maybe I'll give you guys a little bit of a plug of a couple of things we do and some links, and then we can get that out of the way. Do you want to do that? And then you can do the same, Michelle, and then maybe we can talk a little bit about the business of music supervision and then answer people's questions.
Yeah, sure, because I love doing Q&A. That's my favorite thing. You know, I like to make sure that people get what they want to know, and because like they can go online and read about me. So yeah, I think we should definitely dive into that. You know,
okay,
cool. Get
cool.
information.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of information of what I do. For those of you that don't know me, I have a company called Sync Summit. It's at syncsummit.com. And what we do is we used to hold live events all over the world where we'd bring people together who basically license and commission music to be used in television and film, in games, in advertising, directly with brands, mobile, and the internet. And we stopped doing those live events because COVID. So we've taken everything that we do online. We do a number of things online, including a community with a few thousand people in it on Facebook, as well as a newsletter, a Slack group, and educational learning services, as well as a 3-day-a-week place that we have called the Sync Cafe. And I'm not going to get too deep into all of this now because I want us to get to our conversation, but I'm going to give you some links here. These are our courses. If you want to learn about them, that's the link there. If you want to be a part of our Facebook group and our Sync Cafe, I'm going to give you the link. All of those things are free. The courses are not, but the rest of it is. So you can go ahead and check all of that out. And I would say that, you know, if you really want to get to know the business of sync and connect with a lot of great people, you should be a part of what we do because, you know, a lot of what we do for the community. We do it for free, and we do it because we want to give people good information about the marketplace and help you to connect with people who can help you. Because when everything is said and done, there's a lot of I wouldn't say misinformation. I don't want to say that, but there's a lot of confusion and a lot of contradicting information. I think that's the best way to put it, on how music supervision and composition for media works, who the players are, and how do you actually connect to them properly. So at the end of the day, we want to try to help you to simplify your process in terms of learning how things work and who to connect with. And Barry's all about that too. So I know that, you know, that's a lot of what Barry does too. And with that said, everybody, we do have a couple of good classes. I have an amazing class that I do with Chris Molaire. We have a class that we're doing with Josh Rabinowitz, who's one of the top guys in advertising music. And I have another one that's coming out that Patty's going to be part of, that's just going to talk about the Latin music market. And of course, Michelle and I are actually going to do a course in a not too distant future on metadata. We're working on that right now. Okay, anyway, enough of all of that. So, and Michelle, you have a course as well that you do called From Sing to Sync. And Michelle,
From song to
I'm going
sync.
to
From song to
I
sync.
saw it. Yeah.
My
Your
fatal flaw
typo.
are typos. I am the worst with typos. Yes. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm going to toot your horn for a second. You have had over 5,000 songs placed in, some of them are syncs, licensed songs. Some of them are compositions, but, you've just got a wealth of experience in how this business works from A to
Thank
Z.
you. That's so kind. Thank you. Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
But I typos, forget.
That's okay. You know what? I can't get myself to create something nearly as quickly as you. So I've got my cross to bear, as it were.
Yeah, we all do. We all have our fatal flaws. Definitely.
Yeah,
so we work around them, right? Everybody.
Yeah. Exactly. So before we begin our conversation, Michelle, and then Patty, I'll ask the same question. Michelle, tell everybody about yourself a little bit, because I don't know if everybody here knows you.
Okay, so I'm looking around the room and I actually do know quite a lot of people here, which is really wonderful, and hi. And for the ones that I don't know, hi also. I'm a music producer, songwriter, publisher. I do these kind of speaking engagements all the time, which I love. And I'm an educator. I do, like Mark said, teach my course. It's a 20-week course, very deep into music publishing, licensing, and not just about sync, because I also write songs for artists and have had hit songs and stuff all over the world. And so I also teach how to pitch for artists and different things. And Mark and our courses are actually kind of complementary because they're very different. So,
Yeah.
It's really cool, actually. And so basically that's what I do. And you guys, I don't want to take up your Q&A time with me. So if you just want to look online, you can find, or I'll just type in my website and it has all my credits and all that shameless self-promotion.
But you're also on the website. All of you guys' credits, with the exception of our new guest, are all posted up there, Hey, no, that's great, Mark.
Thank you.
Brought her in. That's incredible. The more the merrier.
Yeah, I just like the last minute, like, first of all, it's like, me and Michelle, we could take up an hour just all by ourselves, and we get the plugging out of the way at the beginning, so that we've got it there. If you want to look at it, you want to work with us, you want to do whatever, it's there, and then we can just get down to talking to you and having a dialogue. But Patty, I brought Patty in because I absolutely love her. She's the best, and she actually will bring a lot to this conversation. So Patty, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you and what you do?
Yes, thank you very much for having me in such a spontaneous way. I won't take up long. I am from Mexico City. My main expertise area is royalty collection and income tracking. That's what I've been doing for the last 18 years. And then I started doing a lot of licensing, clearance for friends that were just producing things, and you do royalties, can you help me with this? You know how this works, like you already have the network and then you just start using it for other things. And then from there they started asking me in a more creative way to be more like a music supervisor. So that's what I've been doing lately in the last 5 years. So I'm really new in this music supervising world. I am learning a lot. I try to share as much as I know, and to soak every piece of information from all of you guys. You can't imagine what it is for me to be with you, Michelle, Mark Garfield, and Barry, and everyone. For me, it's just like the most enriching, that's how you say it, experience.
Yeah, enriching.
Yeah, so thank you very much for having me. Those are my credentials. I'm gonna write the address as well, the web, and yeah, I'm here for you, and just to pick your brains, huh?
Yes, pick your brains and also listen to your music. So all right, so guys, I want to just I always love to use this phrase, so I'll use it again. I want to begin from the beginning. And I think the biggest topic that we can talk about for a couple of minutes is, What's the state of the industry right now after the last 6 months? You know, what is the state of music supervision? How are things working from your perspective? And I'll let Michelle go first on that.
Well, to be honest with you, I've never been busier in my life and I'm exhausted. And I'm getting a lot of people asking for music for things. Now it's starting to open up in the last week or two that it's really been interesting. A lot of soups are calling and asking, and it's really wonderful. Can you do this? Can you do that? So I feel that for all of us, it's a really wonderful and exciting moment because things are opening up. And of course, I've been secluded like everyone else has in my own studio, in my own house, you know, not touching or hugging any of my peeps. But yeah, I feel good. I think that we should all be positive that there's going to be work for all of us. Yeah.
I agree 100%. I mean, from my perspective, there's been, you know, obviously there was a lull because of production shutting down, especially in TV and film, though in advertising and in games, things have really continued. And even in promos, it has grown in terms of the usage needs. But with that said, what this has represented, I think, for a lot of people is a time where you can do your research, get your education, learn what people are looking for, learn who people are, and use that as a way to position yourself and also a way to deliver music intelligently to music supervisors, because all the music supervisors I know, and it is starting to open up again, as Michelle said, but all the music supervisors I know have had less work than they've had for some time, and especially in TV and film. And that gives you an opportunity, if you connect things correctly, to make introductions to people and to build new relationships and to position yourself for when the business really starts up in earnest again. Because believe me, Hollywood is pushing very hard to get things moving, and there's going to be a huge call for music and content, and that means just about every genre that's out there. So with that said, Patty, what has been your experience over the last few months, and how are things working in the Latin American market?
Well, for us, for a time, it was always also slow. Everything kind of stopped. Producing companies just, everyone just, it was a halt, you know. But we had time to get to meet new catalogs. That was the time that I met you and Sing Summit,
Right.
which was really good because I had the opportunity to soak into new catalogs. Amazing. But then it started, something really fun is starting to happen. Production companies started getting all those products that were on a can for some reason, and they weren't finished. Some of them already had music on, so I had a lot of clearance work to do there. And some others needed new music and substitute tracks, so we did that. For productions that were already there and they just didn't finish them for some reason. I don't know why. But it was so, like, they needed so much of the content, everyone, Netflix, Amazon, everyone, that they just decided to go back and recover all those things. Those are the things that I've been doing, like in terms of working and economically viable work, you know. Now there is
Right.
other things happening that are not economically active, but they are the beginning, the promise of a brighter future, you know?
Right.
So they started sending me scripts and ideas and everything. So, and all this with the research of new catalogs, it was amazing because for all of those scripts that we will work in 2021 and 22, we are already doing playlists and selections and pre-selections and bouncing ideas with. That's something that happened, bouncing ideas with production companies and directors with so much time before, you know, the production. That doesn't happen that often. They send you the script when they are like 2 weeks before the filming, the production stage. And now we're starting to work 6-8 months before. A blast. It's great. Well, it's a double. I don't know how that's gonna work because then,
A double-edged sword, right? It's
yes,
like, yeah.
yeah, because you begin with a musical selection, and then with time it begins to fade a little bit, and then you have to work again. You know how it is. But
Yeah.
that's what's been happening.
That
There you
and so that's actually a net positive when it comes down to things. And one of the things I'm going to say to everybody is that if you have questions, please ask them in the chat area, and we will get to them. Now
Yeah, I
we had a
see
couple
one
of
already. Hmm.
Yep, there's two actually.
Oh,
There's
good.
one here. Yeah. The first question's from Neil. If I want to submit a cover song to a library or get commissioned to write one, am I responsible for getting the clearance? No, you're not. Technically, you're not responsible. You can make a cover of Billie Jean if you want to. Nobody's going to stop you, and you can put that out there to the world. However, the next question is, how syncable is that? Is the publisher going to allow that to happen? Is the estate, in that case of that particular song, going to allow that to happen? That's really what the question is. So I would, and I mean, Michelle, you tell me what you think, but I would go to the publisher and I would ask them, if I was going to license this, is this something that, would be clearable, because I want to do a cover of it on the master side. A lot of the time, they will either send you a list of songs that are easily coverable and clearable, which you can use as a sort of a template for you to match up covers that you can do. And that's really cool because first of all, you know that this is easy to clear, but second of all, and this is really interesting, the publisher can end up being, in effect, your sync agent for that, because when music supervisors come calling, a lot of the time they'll ask them, hey, what different versions do you have of song X? And then they might offer your song up. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree. I mean, you don't have to get clearance to do the cover, but like Mark is saying, if you want to be pitching it for sync, it might behoove you because, like, for instance, last year I music supervised a movie and I had to do some covers of some Go-Go songs. I wanted to do originally We Got the Beat, but when I talked with the publisher about clearing it, they told me that Charlotte does not like covers and that it will not approve. So I could have recorded it to put it out, sure, as an artist, but to put it in the movie, I wasn't able to because she under no circumstances allows syncs. So it might behoove you to do it first just to save yourself hell, because if I had recorded the song first, right, that would have been a drag. So instead I did Our Lips Are Sealed, which was easy to clear, and the different writers on that song. And so, yeah, so you don't have to, because also the music supervisors, if you pitch a song to Patty, she's going to be the one who has to do the clearance anyway. But still, you might want to check first. It would help you not to spin your wheels and make something that you can never license.
Yeah, I mean, let me give a real world example here for something when I put on the music supervisor hat, because I've done that, where I had an artist do a cover of Can't Help Falling in Love with You, right? So they did it, they got paid for it, they were paid well, but that was the end of that, right? It was like they got paid for it, that was that. Then the publishing, we knew what we were getting into. It ended up costing a lot of money. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of negotiation. And that was really, my responsibility more than anything else, was to make sure that that track was cleared once we decided on it. If you came to me with a track where we didn't have an idea in the beginning, and you were like, I've got this great version of I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. As a music supervisor, I would not expect you to have cleared that for me, because there's so many factors that go into it. Like, how would you know what the budget is of my production, how we're going to do it, what we're selling, what the scene is going to be? You wouldn't know all of these parameters. However, if you did say, you know what, I got in touch with the publisher, they know that I've done this cover, it would help me a little bit. It would be a
well,
nice
at least
thing.
The publisher allows it, because like in the case of
Exactly.
We Got the Beat, they don't. She doesn't care if it's billions of dollars. She doesn't allow it. So how would you know that, right? So in that case, it was good that I asked first, so.
Yeah, and one other side note I want to give about covers. Everybody's mentioning MVibe. MVibe is great. Chris Molera is on the board of advisors, my partner in my sync course, and he and I have good relationships up and down the line there, as you can imagine. But MVibe's a good resource. One other resource I'll give you is that if you join our Slack community or our Facebook group, we have a list of clearable songs from Spirit. And we have a list of clearable songs from, I want to say, Sony ATV, Warner Chappell, and several other publishers from the 90s. So that's a jump start if you want to work in that area. But, you can also ask them, and a lot of the time they're happy to do it because you're going to help them make money.
Right.
Now, let's go to a question for Patty really quickly from Marie and Pete. When you are looking for music, are you looking for mostly Latin music, or are you looking for music from other areas?
No, for me, I just look for good music from everywhere. It doesn't even matter the language that is in. Well, sometimes it is. Obviously, it depends on the project, on the scene, on what do I want to say, and what is the connection that I want to bring to the audience for that specific moment. But I am really open to listen to good music. It's just good music that sounds well produced, that makes sense to the scene. It doesn't matter. I like the productions that I work in. I like them to be as global, let's say, as possible. Obviously, there are some other projects that require more Latin vibes. Right now, I'm working on a couple of them that are actually, the requirement is we want this to sound Caribbean, reggaeton-y, which is not my style at all, but I make an effort to
Right.
to do those genres. But yeah, for me, it's more like a global. And if you see the productions that I've worked, I've always tried to include music from all around the world. Right now, I'm trying to do music from Japan because Mark represents a great catalog. So I'm trying to browse and see what can I fit there, because I feel that this is the kind of education that we have now. It's a global thing. We connect from everywhere in the world, and we listen to music from everywhere, and that's how it should sound. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, Michelle, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I agree with Patty, that it's beautiful that you do music that touches everybody. I think that's terrific. And I think most music supervisors do. Even regardless of what country they're in, they work in all different genres, different languages. I work with a music supervisor in Brazil who doesn't only use music in Portuguese, he uses lots of English and American music. So I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think that brings us to a bigger point, and maybe from here we can talk about some basic best practices in terms of how we connect music to music supervisors and what music supervisors look for. And I think, to Patty's point, this really comes down to finding the right, connecting the right tool to the job. This is the way I like to put it. Basically, when you look at your music, usually you look at it as an artist from a subjective point of view, and that's usually the way that people consume it. They like it because of subjective reasons. They love the feeling, the emotion, what they're getting out of it, the highs and the lows, the melody, etc. All of those things come into play when you're trying to sync a piece of music, or you're commissioned to do a piece of music. But there's an objective to that music. And this is what differentiates sync, is that when a music supervisor is looking for something, it's for a specific purpose, and it's for a specific type of feel, whether it's for an ad that's supposed to be anthemic, building content that's going to uplift people and make them want to drink Diet Coke, or it's going to be something that's going to have this beautiful rom-com montage of these people meeting and coming together after losing each other. it's got to be able to evoke emotion in a way that heightens the overall visual or the overall interactive in the case of a game. So, you know, you have to keep that, you have to really keep that in mind. The question is, how do you understand that? You know, basically, Michelle, you've been doing this for a while, and you've been doing it really successfully. You know, as an artist, at the heart of it all, you're an artist. How do you take that sort of subjective creative process and mesh it with the connection to an objective that a music supervisor gives you? What
Well,
is
I do
your
that.
plan?
First, I do that in a couple ways. First of all, yeah, I'm 41 years in this year. I've been doing this.
You only
So
look like
I'm a
you're 10 years
lifer.
into it.
I know. I take music business preservatives, but
Yes.
yeah, but I do come at it from a creative place. I did start out as an artist, as pretty much everybody does. Most people, most songwriters were artists themselves, or are artists, definitely. I write in all genres, and I've learned how to do that by paying attention, by working on projects where I've been asked to do songs that are not what I would normally do as an artist. And I do country music and rock music and blues music and kids music and Latin music and everything across the board, jazz music and all kinds of stuff. I pitch to the music supervisors often because they ask me for something specific, but I try to defy the odds, and many people will maybe say, don't do this, but I have a list. Now my music supervisor list is over 3,000, but every time I finish a new song, I send the songs out, even if they're not for a brief, even if they're not for anything. And I've got cuts and worldwide hit songs that way. I've gotten placements that way. And I believe in not waiting for the brief. I'm going to maybe send Patty a lovely note. It's great what you're working on. Address her personally. I know her. To ask her about her new apartment because that's so exciting.
Yes.
And stuff of that nature. But then I'm going to say, hey, I have this new song. It's R&B hip hop rapper I'm working with, and just to have handy should you need something, right? So basically the disclaimer on my end is, I know you don't need this right now, but I created it. I love it. It would be really exciting if something ever, and it's happened to me so many times that it's crossed someone like Patty's mind and going, wow, you sent me a hip hop song. I need hip hop now. And so one song at a time. I'm not sending like 40 songs at a time, but I do pitch that way to service, because we're in a service business as creators, to serve the music supervisors. I do send to my list new songs that just randomly, and some people will tell you not to do that, but I also believe that I don't do what I'm told, because if I did what I was told, I'd have no career. So we have to try. We have to try. It's very difficult to get in the door, but it's possible, right? And just yesterday I had this awesome situation. I contacted a music supervisor to ask him to speak here at Springboard. Someone I know very well. I was not pitching a song, but when I wrote him, he said, oh my God, I can't do the panel, but you're going to have what I need. I know you're going to have what I need, right? Basically is what he's saying to me. And he asked me for some songs. So sometimes we can just make connections, and all of a sudden people remember us or ask us something. Or I told Mark the story where once I was calling a music supervisor saying, do you need songs for blah, blah, blah? And he said, no, but I need this. Can you do a marching band arrangement of the Star Spangled Banner? And that was for this huge movie, John Belushi movie, Curly Sue. And I'm like, sure, I don't know how to do that, but I did it. And actually that was 30 years ago. And last week the song got placed on the Today Show. So my arrangement. So you never know what's going to have a life, how long it's going to take. And I have many music supervisors I've pitched to for 25 years and never used anything. And then all of a sudden they use something. So I think the key for us is just to keep servicing them and but if it's a brief, like Mark was saying, if it's a brief, if Patty gives us a brief, like and we go to Mark's Sync Summit and what a pitch is in all these places, and we're getting a brief, and then we don't respond to the brief, and it's for hip hop music, and we send them heavy metal, that's not good. That's not good, because you're not following the brief. But if there's no brief, just send it. Anyway, I hope that was long-winded, but I hope that was helpful.
I think that was really very insightful. And, it's funny, like I'm laughing, like Patty and I, we do this brief critique thing. We just did it yesterday, and we're going to do another one in 3 weeks. But basically we give people a brief, and actually the briefs that we give, and I'm sure you've seen it, Michelle, it's like 90% more information than you usually get. Usually when I get somebody asking for something, it's like an IM going, hey, Mark, do you have anything from like 1983 that sounds like the Stray Cats? That's it. That's
they're so
no
random.
other information.
Exactly. I get that a lot too. And then you're like, what do you want? And do you want a male song?
Yeah.
And do you want a female vocal? And nobody gives, so you give so much information, and still people turn in stuff that doesn't match.
That's what I was going to say. It's
God.
like, we had Patty and I a few weeks ago, and Mark Garfield, who's our other partner in the panel, we had an argument with somebody where we very clearly delineated everything, and they were just like, well, your brief didn't have this, and we were just like,
oh, that was scary.
It did. Let's keep moving on. But that guy and I, by the way, it's all made up, and we love each other. But the thing was, it was like, how could you not see this? Because if a music supervisor gives you any direction, you're lucky. And if you can do it, and that's the key, if you can do it, you should jump on it. If it's not something you feel you can do time-wise or genre-wise or even budget-wise, you should tell them thanks, but no thanks. That's a really important rule, I think.
Yeah, don't send I got a brief a few days ago, and there were 3 categories, and I only had songs that fit one category. So when I sent them, it was specific for what the category was, and I did not send for the other things. I don't have anything. I'm not going to waste that person's time,
Yeah, that's super important. It's a super important point that when you're building relationships with music supervisors, and this is the point that I'm going to get to in a second, but when you're building relationships with music supervisors, you've got to make sure to know when not to send them something and how to talk to them. Because if you waste their time, they're going to get annoyed at you, even if they love you. If they love you and they know you, they'll give you a few chances. But if they don't know you and you respond to a brief just because you're like, oh my God, I got access to like a request for something, and they're asking for Italian disco, and you send them, Southern rock, it's going to not be the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Let's put it that way. They're going to forget you ever exist. So you've got to make sure that, you know when to say to them, like, hey, listen, thank you so much for getting in touch with me. I'm sorry I can't help you right now, but if you're ever in the market for X, here's a couple of examples of it. And you send them a link in like 2 or 3 songs so they can put that in the back of their mind or in a folder when they're looking for Southern rock. They're going to pick up on you and go, yeah, this person got it. That's just as important as responding to a brief correctly. But I wanted to actually go to, Patty, go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to say also what you're going to do about the metadata. It's fundamental. I cannot stress that enough. When someone sends you a song and is not with the complete information, it's a mess. Because then you don't know, you have the file, and then you don't know who sent the file, and it doesn't have the name of the artist or the authors or the agent or anything, and then how to track that. Someone was saying that it took this Gael like 3 years to place one song because it was such a great song, and it has happened to me as well.
3 years. It's the last song. I got a song placed recently. It was 28 years.
Sí, totalmente.
28 years.
I can believe that. But if I have this track in my shelf for 3 years, in 3 years, I'm just not going to remember who gave it to me, And if that information is not in the metadata, that's it for you. O sea, I'm not going to waste time because we are always in a hurry. This is something true.
But metadata is a really new contrivance. So for some of us who are older here, and I know some people here, it's very new. I mean, 5 years ago, nobody asked me for metadata. I mean, and now it's industry standard, of course, and your life is not easy without it. But it's amazing how, who sent metadata? No one asked me even who wrote the songs. I mean, when they were going to use them, they asked me.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's
so
really
different.
funny.
So different.
You're so right, Michelle, because at the end of the day, it's like, okay, you know, I come from a tech background, so I knew what metadata was from, like, you know, tech. But, you know, specific to music, did we really care about it from a day-to-day basis unless we were like specifically building like a data AI around music? No, we didn't really care about it. But what's happened is that as things have become more complicated and we've had more digital platforms to deliver, to store, and to disseminate information and music, metadata has become more important than ever, because at the end of the day, we have to be able to find the music easily and find who it made it and what PROs
and also
they
how to
belong
get paid.
And I was going to say, that's the last part. Yes. How do I get in
that's
touch
how we
with
get
you?
paid. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. But now it's everything. Yeah.
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 And look, at the end of the day, you know, if you want to get in touch with me, or you want to go on to one of our social platforms, we have some basics on metadata. But you know, if you want to do a deep dive, like we said, we're going to be talking about that together in a class. But before any of that, the one thing that you should know is that as a minimum for your metadata, you should have in it who the artist is, who the writers are, who the label or publisher is if you have one. You've got to have your performance rights organization in there, whether it's SOCAN, JazzRack, CSAC, BMI, or ASCAP, or anyone else. It's got to be in there so that your royalties can get done. And also, and this is where it gets a little bit more granular, you've got to put in, other than your contact information, tags of feeling, of genre, etc. I can't emphasize how important this is in terms of the process of having your music found and having your music remembered, so that when a music supervisor, and this is how a lot of music supervisors work, they go into their folders of, like, you know, the mails that they get every day, and they put it somewhere. Like Michelle said, it may even be 20 years later, they go into a file somewhere and they go, oh, look at this, Michelle sent this to me. Wow, this is good. Okay, I need to license it the next day and make a deal. So that can actually happen. So just have something that never expires, that's evergreen, that streams, and that allows a download of an MP3 so that they can share it with their team easily, and also sync it to video if they need to, so that they can experiment with it. These
and
things
A&R guys downloaded over the weekend 5 songs of mine I sent 5 years ago.
Yeah, this is
It's
why
bizarre.
it's so important.
But
I
this
didn't
is
remember
how,
sending them.
but this is how good music resonates through time. That's the key. That's what everybody wants. Music that can last for a long time. And you can use, yeah, that's the key.
I see a lot of questions here, Mark. Should we?
Yeah, I was
going to
say before we get to these questions, and we do have a lot of questions here.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of time.
Well, let's see, Barry, how much more time do we have? We have like 20, 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what questions we can answer, and then we'll get back to some basics here.
Yeah.
Okay. What is this here? Okay. How can music managers team up with all of you to pitch our artists and producers' work? Most artists in independents and not major names yet. Well, that's not a problem at all. The thing that you need to do if you want to connect with people is, if you're going to do DIY yourself as a music manager, you know, go and get yourself out there, do research, make sure that you employ the best practices that we've talked about, but also see if you can find allies, because everybody needs allies. Everybody needs team members, sync agents, publishers, labels, whoever it is that can help you to pitch, that have connections to people. That's one big thing that you can do to build out your network. The other thing is keep coming to events like this, wherever they are. And those two things as a music manager can help you to build your network and be able to use that network to service your clients and get their music out to projects.
Yeah, and I'll add one more thing, because I, of course, which involves research, but I pitch cold and I make connections all the time. And in my class, I teach how to do this, how to make contacts. So you don't have to be here to contact us, and we don't have to have a sync agent, which I do have some sync agents. I love sync agents. But I also pitch direct and create my own database and network and find people and connect with them. And that's basically how I've built my whole career, is by you know, finding different people that I don't know, that I'm not connected with, from companies that I haven't worked with, and by doing that, and I'm pitching them cold. And like the thing was, most artists are independent and not major names yet. Nobody cares. They care about the music. They really don't care. And let me add that they like to discover new things. So some people might find me really, really boring. I've been doing it forever. And they're like, yeah, I know what Michelle does. What else you got? So they want to meet people who are those artists who are not discovered yet. And all of them want to discover something, because like if Patty discovers a new artist that blows up and puts it in her movie, oh my God, all her music supervisor peeps are envious, right? They all want to get to that artist too. You like found something, you discovered something. Everybody wants to discover something. So the playing field is very equal. It's not always about having the contact already. It's making the contact, right? I have lots of luck sometimes with people I don't know, new connections, cold pitching, because again, they're not bored with me. I'm almost like a new artist. I'm a new person. Yeah, my credit sheet has all these things on it, but even so, to them, I'm interesting and new, and they've not worked with me. Whereas I might pitch something to someone who's worked with me a million times, and they stop working with me because they want something new, or you know, they're just reaching out to other places. But usually, they'll come back to me if they need something quick. Because if they need something quick, of course, and they need something that they know is easy to license, and they're not going to get screwed. Yeah, then they come to me quick. But if they have a minute, they want to discover something else. So that's all I can say is, you know, don't think that, oh, well, it's easy for you because, and it's easy for Mark, because it's not like that. There's work for everybody. But the songs have to be great, like Patty and Mark are saying. The songs have to be great. I mean, if the song isn't good, then, you know, and that's subjective, of course. But I mean, if the vocals aren't tuned, if the instruments aren't tuned, if they're not in time, if you know, that's not subjective. And, you know, we gotta step up our game.
Right.
Exactly.
And nowadays, I don't know how you feel it, but I think that supervisors, we are collaborating more with each other. We are more connected than ever. There was this notion of, oh, this is my work, my production companies, my catalogs, my artists. What? No one is from no one, no one is property of no one.
No.
But now we have this notion of collaboration is really, really important. So if I discover a really nice catalog, what I'm going to do is just we have like a WhatsApp group for music supervisors here in Mexico and other places in Latin America. So I go to the WhatsApp group and I say, oh, you have to look at it. And if you like it, I can connect you. And they also are doing the same. So every time a door opens, you never know where it's going to lead and who is going to be, behind the door. Other music supervisors, companies. And so bear that in mind all the time. What you said about the most important thing, I think the most important thing is the blossoming tree of relations that you grow along time. You never know where this branch will take you, with what fruits, what flowers will bring. So take care of
as long as you're polite, and as long as you don't mass send stuff, right? Like, you know, Patty wants you to address her. She wants you to say something about what she's done. She doesn't want you to like just send her something that doesn't even say, hi, Patty. That's not nice. So, it's not like when I'm saying you can I pitch to 3,000 people. I do it one by one by one. If there's something I need to say personally to them, I'm going to write something personally. I'm going to Barry, and I'm going to ask him how he is. How's he feeling? How's his hot tub? I'm gonna ask something, right? I'm not just gonna just send the song. That is really ineffective. So we have to understand that. And does that take me a long time? Like you're going to say, oh my God, that must take you forever. It takes me forever. I can do about 100 a day before I'm glazing over. And it's so, it can take a few months to pitch one song, but that's the only way to do it. That's how you make connections. That's how you respect the people that you're pitching to, right? So just remember that. Yeah, don't be sending mass stuff with not addressing people, because that won't work.
Well, and we don't use. Yeah. Sorry, Barry.
I was gonna say that the one thing I was gonna say. Please don't say, "Hey, what are you looking for?"
Yeah, that's the worst, right?
Nothing these supervisors hate. It's like you can look on IMDb and see what I'm working on. You can watch my work, but hey, what are you looking for? I've got my own studio. I can crank it around in no time. You act like you're saying something special. I get 100 emails a day like that. I'm exaggerating, but I mean, man, take a little time. Dear whoever, like dear sir, madam, man, that is next.
Really bad. Yesterday, I got one that just sent me like 40 links of songs and said nothing. It said nothing. Yes.
I'm dropping a new single. Yay for you.
Who cares?
No,
right.
I get so many emails that I only pick like 2 a day to listen to.
Mm-hmm. So that's nice of you.
I give 3 things that do it. 1, Mark or Michelle told me I should check you out. Number 1 reason I listen, a personal contact. Number 2, an amazing picture where you're going, and I'm not talking about like a regular picture. I'm going like, how in the world did they get that giraffe to hold still? All right, I got to see what kind of band this is. Or 3, you've got a tagline like an elevator pitch that says, her voice sounds like a buzzsaw dipped in honey and lit on fire. Well, crap, man, I got to hear what that sounds like. Those are your 3 tools to me.
But can I just interject something, Barry? And you might not agree, because sometimes we disagree, me and Mark too, and it's super fun. It's super fun because we love each other. But I think you send a picture if you're an artist.
Right.
I think you don't send a picture if you're a songwriter.
No.
Because what it does is color the song, and they're wanting to put the song to picture. So they don't really want to see your picture. But if you're an artist,
they don't want to see that old ass on their thing. That's what
yeah, right. No, you're beautiful. You look amazing, actually. But if you're an artist, you should definitely. And what at Barry's at Springboard, when Matthew Knowles said what he said, was the biggest amazing thing that he said to the artist. He looked out at the audience, who are at a couple of Springboards ago, and he said, no one here looks like an artist, right? He said, look at you. You all look like you're half asleep. You're in your pajamas. You don't have any makeup, good girls. None of you look like artists. Okay, that's really important if you're an artist. If you're a songwriter, nobody cares. But I can whatever. But if you're the artist, you have to show up. You should even come to a Zoom for all of everybody and be dolled up, dressed up, have your makeup on, impress people so that they want to know you and your brand and who you are. Because like Barry's saying, also if your picture is this amazing thing and then you show up in person and you look like a slob, Barry's not going to want to be impressed anymore, right?
I still like this.
I'm going to say,
I can be impressed with no matter how you look. If you could sing and write, I'm in.
I'm going to say something to this point, though, okay? And then I had a couple of other things I wanted to go into, and then we'll get the questions. But the one thing I wanted to say to your point, Barry, and to your point, Michelle, I was at a conference, believe this or not. It was a tech conference about 20 years ago, and Prince was there. And Prince, because he was starting up a new digital company, he was very early into the curve. He was a pretty smart guy when it came to these things. And, this was a company that I helped found. So I knew the guys who currently ran it. And they were like, Mark, Prince is here. You should go say hi to him. And I'm just like, yeah, sure. So I go, and there's Prince just sitting there taking notes. He's being a good student, completely dressed up as Prince. He didn't come in, like in a t-shirt and jeans. He was Prince. He looked like Prince. He had on high heels. He was together. If you're an artist, you need to keep that together, because you never know who you're going to meet, and you have to have your public perception go out there a certain way. So I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, and
There's a couple
Matthew
other-
said that. So Matthew, it was
Yeah.
Matthew, and it was like, yeah, he's so right. I looked around the room and went, wow, what a great observation.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Now, there's two other things that I wanted to say. One thing, to Michelle's point, is that, you've really got to do your research on people. You can't just scattershot your approach, just throw it out there and hope that something bounces back to you. You've got to look at your target. You've got to understand who they are. You've got to go on IMDb or iSpot if it's an ad. You've got to go on YouTube. You've got to go and research this person. Do you know, people know the name Alexandra Patsavas, right? Alex is a buddy of mine for a long time. She did all the music for Twilight, all the music for so many other shows. Grey's Anatomy.
She's the one who used my 28-year-old song.
Oh, see, that's awesome. And now she's at Netflix. Okay. But, how much more do you know about her than that? How many people have gone and looked in her IMDb? How many people have looked for her interviews? How many people know that she had an indie record label for a couple of years that she kind of doesn't, kind of let go? You need to know who these people are as people, because then when you have that insight and you send your music, you know your target. And when you know your target, the results are going to be so much better. And this is really the point I think that Michelle was making. And then to the other point, do you need to be famous? Do you not need to be famous? You absolutely don't need to be famous. And I'll even go one farther than this. The deals that happen for famous people, you're never going to know about them. Those things happen above us, okay? Above our conversation. If there's a deal that Martin Scorsese is making for Goodfellas 2, let's say he does that, and he's going to use, again, the Rolling Stones, right? That deal's never going to come anywhere except for between the Stones, their management, their label, and his production company and him personally. That's it. You're never going to know about it. In this other part of the world, you are just as equal as anybody else if your music is the right tool for the job. So that's what I got to say
Right
about
on.
that.
Right on.
All right. Let's take another question here. This is a good question, Neil. As someone new to this, how do you know if you're getting a good deal or not? You know what? If you're getting a deal and they're paying you money and you're just starting out, you're getting a good deal. That's it.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, there are prices we can but they don't matter because you can't negotiate that deal. So Mark, that was really funny, and that was brilliant, Mark. Exactly. That's a good deal, right? They used it. They paid you.
Yeah. And I'll even say, yeah. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, they're going to tell you, I have $500, I have $2,000, and that's not going to be based on you. They don't care. That's going to be based on the project and how much money they have. And they don't care if you're Yumi or whoever else that's more, fancy than us. That's what they have. They're going to offer it to you the same as to me. They're not going to offer you less because you're new.
100%.
There's the way that I've found that most of the right holders use, and this is information that they ask for, and we all know that it's okay. How do you know if this deal it's okay according to the project? Questions. What's the size of the project? What's the total budget for the project? What's the budget for music specifically? How many songs are used in the movie? If you have $10,000, let's suppose, for all of your music, and you're going to use 5 songs, and they are offering $1,000 for your song, then it's a good deal, because they have to administer $10,000 for 5 songs. Now you do the math. If they have 2 songs for credits, initial credits and end credits, for example, that's a little bit how you can see if what they are offering
But they're not going to disclose that usually. I'm never going to ask a music supervisor that, if they ask me to quote, on a film, not a TV show, but if they ask me to quote on a film, I'm going to ask them what the budget is. But of the
Yeah.
film, yeah. But I'm not going to ask him all those specifics because they'll hate me.
Yes, totally.
I agree with that. Look,
Yes.
I'll
But
give you
it's good to know, and it's great for you to explain to everybody. I totally think that's best. So now they understand, but you don't want to ask those questions.
Well,
I
I do it though. I'll ask if it's an indie film. Hey, what's the total budget of your film?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'll ask that, but I'm not going to ask them too much more than that because they get irritated.
So to throw it out here, what the music budget should be is about 5% of the total budget.
Mm-hmm.
What it really is, God knows.
Yeah.
And for TV, it's more finite because they start with a budget for the season, and for each episode there's a budget and they spend it. But for a film, they eat off the music budget the entire shoot, right? So by the time they get back to the music, there's no money left because they needed more donuts and
exactly.
Right. So yeah, it's with TV, it's a little more clear, but with films, you never know. You know, the budget could be 100 million and you get like $4,000 because they've spent all the money. And that's usually when the music supervisor comes to you and tells you, "I am so sorry."
Yeah, they apologize. They apologize first. It's a bad sign.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, from my perspective, speaking as a sync agent, I kind of like go back to a song. I don't know if anybody knows this song, the Buzzcocks song, "What Do I Get?" That's basically my philosophy. I always have that in the back of my mind, meaning what do my clients get for this song? So when I probe, I don't probe about the budget because they're not going to tell me. Even my best friends aren't going to tell me what their budget is for their films or their TV shows. But what they end up telling me, because they're trying to make me think it's really cool, is they start to tell me more about the production, who some of the stars are, who the writers are, etc. And you know what? For them, I have to say this to music supervisors, that can also blow up in your face, because I've had people come to me where they're like, "Mark, I really need this song for this project. And like, you know, Sienna Miller and Paul Guy Kamada and Ryan Reynolds are in it, but I've only got X amount of money." And I'm like, "Really? Okay. Well, you go back to your director now and you tell them that I'm going to double that, because if you can afford all of those really expensive actors, you can pay a little bit more for that track." And it wasn't a lot more, but I did get what I wanted.
Good for you.
Because you need to be able, but that comes with experience. You know that.
Sure.
Knowing
that's a dance.
when you can do
yeah.
that. But a lot of the time, and I would say 85% of the time, when a music supervisor is coming to you with a budget, they're coming to you with their honest budget. And you can either take it or leave it based on what you have. I've had music supervisors come to me with an outlandish request, and I think that they just came to me with it because they knew I was going to say no, so they could tell their director, "I'm sorry." But I represent some famous artists, and you know, they said, "Hey, Mark, I really want this song. I've got an MFN for it, and all these other people have agreed to it." And I'm like, "I can't even talk to her about that. Sorry." You know, there's some times where it's just not going to happen. And if that's the case, usually the parameters of the deal are given to you up front. So I don't feel like there's a lot of negotiation.
Because there's so many younger artists here and stuff, can you explain MFN for them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I can do it for you.
I can do it too. I did it in class yesterday, but
I was going to do this, but
go for it.
You go ahead.
No, okay, so MFN works in different, MFN means most favored nations, and actually there are many scenarios for MFN. So in this scenario that Mark's discussing, he's discussing that all the songs are going to come in at the same low price. This time it's a low price to accommodate. So maybe every song is going to be $200. So if it's Beyonce, it's $200. If it's me, it's $200. They're making every single song the same, and there's no exceptions. That's really good for someone who's doing a low budget movie to do that, because then everybody can agree or not agree to the situation. But there can also be MFN among the publishers only, and there can be MFN among the masters only. And so the MFN, the most favored nations, and many times there is no MFN. Like I'll ask them sometimes, "Is that MFN? That's very low," you know, and it won't be, you know. So you can then that what that means is they offered me $250 and they offered Mark $1,000, right? Well, I don't like that. So if it's low, if it's not low budget, then it's okay. But if it's low budget like that, so basically it just means everybody gets the same thing. But sometimes the master doesn't get the same as the sync. But sometimes it does. And in Mark's situation, everything was all in for a low amount that he felt was too low because it was MFN. He couldn't change it. See, because now if Mark says, no, I don't want MFN at 250, that means he says, I want 500. If they give him 500, they've got to up every single song that's in the project. And so, so they may not have the money, not want to spend the money. That's usually in a movie, not as often in a TV show, but sometimes. Well, and another way that MFN works is this way, if I may, just really quickly. For instance, I have some hit songs that I wrote with a Warner Chappell writer. The music production companies always come to me for a quote first. Why? Because they know I'm going to quote less than Warner Chappell. So I always tell them, I'm going to go MFN with Warner Chappell, which really irritates them, but that throws the ball to Warner Chappell, who I know is going to get more money than I am. And then they're just going to come to me and say, okay, Warner Chappell agreed to this. That's the deal. Great. But they try to undercut the deal by doing MFN on my side first.
You go to the guy who's more desperate. The other thing I was going to say on the MFN, the other thing that I've seen doing it, because I work both sides of the fence, they'll do MFN on likened artists is the way you can get out of it. So you go, you're an unknown nobody, you get this. You're somebody famous, you get this. So you do a two-tiered system.
Yeah, there you go. Right. That's a great thing too.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I was gonna add to that, but basically, Barry, yeah, that's the way you get out of it, because typically if there's a film or a TV show, not everybody's going to be under the same MFN, and that's why in this particular instance, I was surprised that he was asking me to put this under an MFN. I was like, dude, come on, it's an iconic song, it's not going to happen. Usually, what happens is what Barry said. You've got one tier for the people that, hey, this is going to be out of your league, and then you've got the people who are the more independent artists who are going to be in another pool and happy with it. And that's pretty standard practice, right?
Yeah, because I supervise too, so I'm trying to go get everything that I can do. Like I did an indie film called The Never List, and I didn't put MFN in it, but I paid everybody the same. I treated it like that. I said, look, it sucks. We're all getting raped. Line up here,
Yeah.
That's the deal. They really don't have the money. I mean, the whole budget for the film was $500,000. That's going to suck.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's
like
like
movie,
MFN.
It is.
We'll see.
Cool movie.
Yeah, people like to talk about MFN, but effectively, when everything is said and done, it's not part of every deal, but you do have to know what it is. But if I put on my music supervisor cap, I don't like MFN deals because I like to maximize my budget. And I feel like if you do MFN, it sounds like you can maximize your budget, but at the end of the day, one negotiation up is a negotiation up for everybody. And I don't like that personally.
Yeah, right. But however, like I just did a friend a favor. It was the first film he was ever music supervising. It was very, very low. He asked me, could he put this song in the movie? And he only had $250. So my first question was, is it MFN? Right. And he said yes. And I said, fine. Right. Okay. So I'll do you the favor as long as you're not paying anybody else anymore. You know what I mean? So in that case, it was fine for me. But if he had said no, and he was paying other people more than that, I'd be like, no way then, I want to do a favor. Everybody should be doing the same favor,
Hey, I had a quick question for you, Barry. In terms of, and there's a few more questions here, but Barry, how much later can we go? I have a 7 o'clock call with Japan I have to take, so I've got an hour, but how are we doing?
We can go a couple minutes over. There's nothing else after us. Like we are at the end of today's conference.
Oh, good.
Oh, cool.
Good. So then that's good. Let's answer. Good. That's great, Barry. I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, well, this is a really good question. I wanted to, from Matt from Sub Radio. Has COVID affected, and thank you, Barry, has COVID affected the video game side of supervision? No, It really hasn't. You know, video games, and you guys tell me if you think I'm wrong, but video games are doing great. There's no stopping with that, because basically productions that involve everybody getting together and that aren't used to doing business remotely have been affected. The ones like games, you don't need to be in the same room. In fact, you're not in the same room most of the time when you're developing a game, when you're coding a game, maybe you're in the same room. But in general, it's a very easy process to do everything from composition to editing to licensing remotely. So that hasn't slowed down at all. And then, have you pitched to any esports games such as FIFA, and have you had any success there? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've pitched to games. I know everybody in the game business, and I've had some success in that. You know, it's an interesting side of the business. The one thing that I'll say is that the storylines aren't linear, so you've got to make sure that you've got full songs, instrumentals, and stems. Stems are super, super important for games because they need to place the stings and different pieces of music everywhere. That's all I have to say to that. Michelle?
Agree. Totally. 100%. Yeah.
But also, too, just so we said, we're also looking at games to do stuff with Twitch and putting songs in. We're talking about supervising gaming channels and doing a licensing deal for that, because these gamers want to play stuff and they're getting sued left, right, and sideways. So we're putting a whole division together. One of our guys, Simon, who you saw, is actually building his own game. Of course he is, you know. And so I think that's an interesting, like, I'm always looking for other ways to make people money, you know, and saying, like, again, I'm working on a deal with podcasts, theme song for a podcast. What's that worth? You know, because we're going to see a lot more. Spotify.
Yeah, well, that microsyncs, those are called microsyncs. So for sure, I've done theme songs for websites for people, and the money varies, right? It's kind of what they have and you negotiate. Could be anything.
I don't want to negotiate with you. You're tough.
Actually, on that, not so. Other things.
Don't let her lie to you, man. She does. Brutal. I think she's going to own my hot tub before it's all over.
That's right. I need the photos to make sure that it's optimum.
She won't fight with me unless I got the right hot tub.
That's right.
The deal. You'll write with Bob Dylan without a hot tub.
Yeah. Well, what can I tell you?
He's Bob Dylan. I know. You know me, folks. I'm telling you.
He showed up at the right time.
Did he, right? Mr. Right?
Yeah, he was Mr. Right. Oh my God.
Hot tub.
And that's crazy. And that just shows you that things can happen under all kinds of possibilities exist in the world. That's all I can say about my co-write with Bob Dylan. You know?
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. All right, let's go to the next question. Okay, from Prince Ivan, Bride and Brett. We've been approached by sync companies who want exclusives on our catalog. How would you navigate those situations? Look, do some research on those people. Do you think that they are worth doing an exclusive with? My general sense is what the rest of my panel is saying, which is don't do an exclusive because of a variety of different reasons. My take on it, and then I'll shut up, is that, you know, I know a lot of people, probably more than most, but I don't know everybody. And you probably are really well served if you're going to do, you know, the maximum amount of syncs to work with somebody like me who can do a really broad sort of like, you know, maybe I can get you into Japan, maybe I can get you into advertising, maybe I can get you into film. But then there's this other person who just does like 20 different acts and has like the most amazing connections to Gray and Young and Rubicon and McCann. If that person wants to work with you, I wouldn't want to stop you from making money with that person. What the hell? And I can work it out. I'm an adult as a business person. I can work it out with that other person so that we're not stepping on each other's toes. It's really in your interest to be an independent. That's my feeling.
And Mark, could I add a caveat to that? And that's the retitling aspect. There was a music library that went under because of a retitled song that had been released in Japan. And it's illegal to do that there. Who knew?
Yes.
And
yeah.
And
I love retitles. I love retitles.
And but when you're doing the retitling, per my conversation with the attorney for the copyright, the Office of the Copyright during the World Copyright Summit, when I told him about the retitling process, which he was completely unaware of, he said, on the surface, without even looking any further, that sounds unethical. And he made the point that should there be any litigation in the future, because the BMI and ASCAP and CSAC, all the catalogs are by titles, not by works. They are overinflated catalogs, and prices for the yearly licenses are partially based on that. As such, he said that should litigation come in the future and it go against the songwriters, you could end up losing your copyright. So I don't see that litigation happening, but it should be something that people keep in mind as to whether or not they choose to retitle their works.
Well, I was
Gail?
just going to jump in there, Gail, because, you know, I so hear you, and that's so interesting, but it's my work. I own it. Right? I'm not disputing you. You know, we are on the same page, but it's my work. I own it. I can do whatever I want with it. And I retitle all the time. They are separately registered at the PROs. They're not registered as an AKA under the same title. And I love to retitle. And I think it's totally fair. If I want to work with a library and they need to take a piece of the back end, fine, we'll retitle the song. But I don't want to be in my songs encumbered because the Library of Congress tells me, who cares? I don't care.
Yeah, he was just kind of giving the advice from a legal standpoint about the possibilities. So what anybody does with their work is entirely up to them.
Right.
And such, but it is something to know that is in the ear of the people who are making the decisions about copyrights. All of the burgeoning nations who had no copyright laws that were developing theirs were completely aghast that that would be something to happen. So, you know, it's like you said, it's your work. You can do what you want with it and share that back end however you choose to do so. But it is something to be aware of as you progress in your career, how you want to do it.
But
Patty, do you want to jump in?
Yes, we're actually talking about signing different agreements in a matter of exclusivity or not. So that was the beginning of the conversation. If you're gonna sign a song in exclusiveness with a company, you cannot rename it and sign it with another company.
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly. No, I agree with you,
Can't
Patty.
do
Yeah,
that.
you can't do
Correct.
that.
Yeah, that's an
that is
absolute
absolutely
no.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
that
you're
is,
gonna
I would
have
never do that.
several agreements, non-exclusive agreements with several companies, then you can rename your songs in any way, and you can register them as AKA or whatever. But if you have an exclusive agreement with someone, you cannot sign that song and rename it, because no, that's
Oh,
illegal,
absolutely. I'm talking
right?
about non-exclusive libraries.
Yeah.
Well, but
just
really, go on. Sorry.
I want to say something about this, because first of all, and Michelle, you're going to be surprised at what I say, because you know where I usually stand is that I'm usually like, don't retitle.
Yeah,
There's
Barry
a lot of
doesn't like
reasons
it
for this.
either. Yeah.
But I'm going to say something here, okay? Lawyers are always going to be risk adverse when they hear something like retitling. It's going to freak them out because it's just how their minds work. So that's number one.
I don't
And
agree.
it's gonna, oh no, I do agree.
Well,
I think most lawyers. I think most lawyers are like, what the fuck
then
are
my
you doing?
catalog is going to be a disaster because it's so full of retitles, and those retitles do have value because if you buy my catalog, those retitles all make money too. So
I agree 100%. I'm not finished with my sentence yet, but
Okay,
I'm
sorry.
saying this is the gut reaction of a lawyer. They're going to be like, what the fuck are you doing? That's not good. That's not good. You can't do that. So I can see a lawyer, any lawyer who, especially if they don't know what retitling is, going, that's a disaster. And I can see that. Now, the other side of it is what Michelle said, and this is not based on government guidance. In Japan, there's a certain government guidance that says it's illegal, so you don't do it, okay? But in the US, if you want to retitle, there's nothing that's stopping you from saying, okay, I've given this over here to, like, you know, let's say Sony ATV. I've given this over to Jingle Punks, and I've given this over to Mark, and I've kept this for myself. So, and it's all the same song, but it's different versions that they're going to collect royalties on. If you have, you know, A, B, C, D in the last part as the change of name, You know, there's an argument where I say it's kind of messing up the music supervisor's life to a degree. And that's really my argument, where I'm like, I want to keep things simple, whatever. But legally, there is nothing wrong with it. And at the end of the day, on a cue sheet, it's traceable. So, you know, if you're a songwriter or you're an owner of a work, if you sign non-exclusive deals with multiple people and the only way you're getting paid is from a royalty and it's legal within your country, you know, do it. If you know, if they, that's basically it. I mean, I can't say that I love it, but do it.
One of the things that BMI wanted to do is to put out what's called Blue Arrow technology. And they basically demoed it for me at the World Copyright Summit. And the guys who were doing the programming had no idea that retitling was an issue. And this is all based on sound. And so what was happening as they were testing it is that they'd have 4 or 5 different tracks or reasonable facsimiles coming up in there and not knowing which one had been the one that was placed. 4 different titles, same recording, same track. They were going to make this technology available to all BMI writers for free. That was in 2009. They still haven't figured out a way around it so that the right person gets paid.
Well, you know what? That's on them, because as technologists, they were being half-assed. They didn't do the research into the freaking market that they're looking to enter. Coming from the tech industry, I see that happen all the time. And you know what? They don't deserve to enter this market until they figure out what the hell they're doing, because we don't want them here. If you can't figure out retitling, don't do it.
Well, no, but here's the thing. What they're talking about is digital fingerprinting, where if it's essentially the same exact recording, it can't tell the difference. And so,
no, it can't. And I fingerprint my songs.
Sorry. Let me refute that. Let me refute that right now.
Right.
Yeah, the digital fingerprinting can't tell immediately, but you know what? You can feed the fucking thing supplemental information that's found on BMI and ASCAP and CSAC, and keep on feeding it so that it matches it up. Okay? It's not rocket science. That's
but
all.
on the other side of it, watermarking is an interesting situation, because you could have one song could have 10 watermarks, one sound recording.
Exactly.
Right, because if I give it to Mark, I can watermark them just for Mark. I can watermark them just for Patty. I can watermark them just for you, Barry. And the same song that I non-exclusively had you guys pitching, I can watermark them for your placements.
I used to use Verint, and that was incredible at the beginning, because I did the theme song for The Pyramid with Donny Osmond.
Cool.
And I got reports back. And I made more money on that than a #1 hit, by the way.
I bet. Yeah, that's huge.
That's amazing.
But I saw the number of illegal uses, promos, like, oh my God, it was like, you're going like, and again, what are you going to do, go sue them? Not for that money, I'm not. But I mean, it was, you got to see all the other places they were putting in ads, commercials, you know.
Now you just have to hope there's a class action suit, and that'll take care of it.
Oh, that's depressing.
No, because
Very, my God.
You know, but it was, yeah. I mean, and again, that's the other thing too about this business. You know, when you're getting taken advantage of, you got to weigh you got to decide. Am I going to sue this guy? Because it takes almost $400,000 to take somebody to federal court. You're not
so
going
much
to do
work.
that for 20 grand, man. Don't do it. Like, and at a certain point, it's, you know, it's a business, and it's a very small business. You know, sometimes you have to look the other way on some of these deals.
And part of the problem is that our industry has historically been anywhere between 10 and 20 years behind the technology. And so they're all rushing to keep up and making.
Oh, I wouldn't call it rushing. I'd call it ambling.
Ambling, yeah. But yeah, we're always behind.
Well, I mean, here's the other thing, Gail, to remember, is that most tech people, not all of them, are behind on our industry and how it works. And that's why I got so impassioned about it when we're saying, oh, yeah, you know what? These guys can't figure out fingerprinting. You know what? I can figure out how to use BMI's database, and I can cross-reference it with my technology. I mean, dude, there's always a way to do it.
it don't count on BMIs like as somebody who represents a shitload of people. Wow, is that some metadata that's fucked up?
Of
Yep.
course, but it'll get you a lot farther than not knowing that you can do it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I will say that the interesting thing about the song registrations and the metadata from PRO to PRO is they're all wrong. Like for instance, what I have counts at each. They all have all my songs, even though I'm at CSAC for 20 years. Even my new songs end up in my BMI catalog, end up in my ASCAP, end up in my PRS. So all my songs are listed in all three, even though I'm current at CSAC, right? All the information is wrong. So what CSAC has registered as correct, because I'm registering the songs with CSAC, I'll go to BMI and go, that's not correct, the songwriters on that song, or that's not the correct PROs on that song. And then I had a sub-publisher, well, a publisher in the UK who contacted me about 2 months ago going, your catalog is a mess. He's someone I know, but I haven't worked with in like 30 years. And he wrote me out of the blue going, your PRS is a mess, right? And he said, I have got to clean this for you. You have got to take me on to clean this mess up. And what happened was all the registrations at PRS don't match the CSAC registrations. How did that happen? That's what happens. And it's really astounding, right? With the metadata, how did that happen? The Harry Fox doesn't match, the PRS doesn't, and the MLC, we're just taking our songs from Harry Fox and throwing the mess to the MLC. So it's quite interesting. It's a mess. It's a mess. Yeah, it's a mess. And I have thousands of pieces of music, so can you imagine the mess?
So you're
I think right now CSAC is working on a global database, and for
They are.
ISLC and ISWC.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, Patty,
They
they
have
are.
been working in that for 20 years. They
Yeah,
haven't.
no, that's not what I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
CSAC doesn't generate the ISWCs because I'm in that problem right now. When you go to ASCAP and BMI, every ISWC code, when you go to CSAC, they don't automatically generate them. So now my new Brazilian publisher is asking me for the CWIR for the ISWCs. CSAC has been working on it for me personally for 2 months because they have to find and match the ISWCs that are ASCAP and BMI because they don't have them. So that's, and I love CSAC. I'm a happy CSAC writer, but that is really difficult, right? Isn't that crazy? They don't automatically generate those ISWC codes the way, other PROs do,
So let me ask you a question. Now that you were CSAC and they bought Harry Fox, is that going to clean up your Harry Fox problem?
No, can you imagine that? It didn't either. It's still, they don't match up.
I know, man. I get this part. I can't believe, man.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Are we scaring everybody here in the audience? No. Are we scaring everybody here?
No, we're definitely way above where we need to be talking.
Yeah, we shouldn't be here.
Guys,
we should be answering
let's bring it
questions.
down. I've got a couple of questions. I want to bring it down to earth a little bit.
Let's
you're
answer
right.
their question.
And the thing is, we're all a bunch of geeks, so we could go on for the next 3 hours doing this. Next question, Jennifer Alstelin. So a songwriter should also always use a tagline or an elevator song for a pitch for a song. Yes, if it's the first time, especially if it's the first time you're going out. If you have a relationship with somebody, you don't need to give them a tagline or elevator pitch every time. You can have a conversation with them. But if you are going out for the first time, think about how you can succinctly, intelligently focus and target to the person that you're writing to why they should listen to and use your song.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next question. Hey guys, and this is a fun question, Joseph Capilabo. How many tracks would you say someone should be getting signed a year? I know some people are publishing yearly, nearly 500, and it seems a little intimidating or out of reach. What would you recommend? I know, I'm laughing when I see this too, Barry. Yeah, you take it. That's funny.
Within my youth? Yeah, exactly. About
it's like
1/100th of what you're saying. Yes. Yeah, if somebody's telling you, they're even Michelle probably isn't doing 500 new.
No, I do about 100. About 100
is stunning.
But but it varies because if I have a commission and I'm commissioned, 10 songs in 6 weeks, it's easy to make 100, and I'm getting commissions. but
Yeah,
but
sort of doesn't count though.
it's, yeah, I get, but I'm still creating them, and they're
yeah, it
still
does
in my
count.
catalog. Yeah, I'm still making
You
them.
know what
But
I
I
mean?
would say
It's
I
like,
make
It's
about
not a license.
100.
I know.
But that
Yeah.
person who's making 500 maybe is making cues. Since we don't know specifically if that person isn't making just instrumental cues, not
Or
full
they're
Right.
doing blanket deals where they're taking their library, putting
yeah,
in a TV show for 50 cents a placement and calling
right.
it a license. I hate
Exactly. And I would say, in my humble opinion, that you should create what you create. If you create 5 songs, if you create 100 songs, if you create 10 songs, it's all viable. You know, you just need to have enough songs to have a catalog, because if you're pitching to Patty and she loves something you do and then you only have one more song, you're useless to her. You're serving her. You sent her something, she likes it. You need to have some catalog that she can be coming to you, so you're a go-to person for her to help her, right? So
Yeah.
that's all I would say, is you got to keep creating music. You can't rely on just your old music, or that you have 2 songs a year. That's not going to help her. You know,
Yeah.
she needs
It's
people
like
who have music.
It's like you've given them the salad, but no main dish and no dessert.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
Gail. Exactly. That's, you know.
And then
definitely.
from those songs that you produce every year, you just choose 2 or 3 jewels. Those are your hooks. You're not going to send 500 songs to a music supervisor. You send a couple of them as a sample of what you do, and just choose the very best.
Yeah, and it's hard to choose because it's subjective, right? It's hard for us to choose. Like, I have a song, people will always say, you know, what do you have that no one ever cut or no one ever plays? And I have the same song for 20 years. And every time I play it for someone, they go, yeah, that's nice. What else you got?
Oh, I hate
So it's hard, right? But it's hard for us to tell as creators what song is great. Like, the song is so important to me, and I think it's beautiful, and I really get this every time. So maybe someday someone will use it.
You can't
I
lose
think I think the best thing you can do, and if you look at this from the artist's perspective, is to not like try to do everything in order to be perfect for a music supervisor, but to keep creating the best music that you can create. And then when the opportunity comes along, be able to be of service to help them to solve a problem with what you've created or you can create. That's the best way to look at it. If you look at being somebody who's going to help somebody solve problems, it will get you really far in terms of how you deal with process and how you connect your music to people. And that means knowing what their needs are. But on the creative side, I think you always have to be true to who you are, because ultimately, unless you're just creating, like, you know, brass stings for a production library, if you're creating original music, a music supervisor is going to want to work with your music because they're going to love your music. They're going to like what you do that's different than anybody else. That's my take.
That's
Yeah,
how I feel
that's
when the
great.
music comes into me.
It's true.
Mhm.
Do what you
I
do
love it.
best. Do what you do best, even if it's several different things that you do. Do it and do it with passion, and that will translate. And don't try to be everything to everyone, because you will just end up with subpar material.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, definitely.
I can be
I mean-
taller. I can be shorter.
And I'll throw out to, in addition to what Gail just said, that I personally completely dislike when people come to me and say, check this out, I wrote this for sync. Because I don't believe in that. I believe in writing a great song. We should write a great song every time, and it should not be for sync. It should be for a great song that an artist can cut. That maybe could be sync. That could be for our own souls, whatever it is. We should be striving to write great songs, not writing songs targeting for sync, because that's not authentic and that has no soul. And the music supervisors feel that, right? The sync agents feel that. Mark, you can feel that when somebody's just,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
that's not a real piece of music. I mean, even when I get a commission from the music library, yeah, I'm writing for them and they've given me a brief, but I'm putting my heart and soul into those songs. I'm putting myself into those songs. They're not just traits that I'm throwing at them, you know, from a brief, because yeah, they mean something to me, every one of them. So.
But know sometimes that your best song isn't the one that's going to get licensed. Because,
Yeah.
Sure.
because it is so good that when it's playing, you are listening to it and not paying attention to the scene. some of your other songs are going to be more used because they fit a vibe or whatever. Barry was talking about We're Hot Tonight, which has been in 8 movies now. This was a throwaway song that we did because we had extra time in the studio. But do you think the best song on the CD has been licensed for anything yet?
Yeah, it's always like that. I agree with you completely. Always like
Gail, here's a case in point to your point. You know, there's a song that I have, like I don't usually exclusively represent something, but I represent this one. And it's a song that was done in the early 80s, an original song that was never picked up by a major label. It's called So Afraid of the Russians. Really cool track. And me and a friend of mine who do a major TV show, we've been trying to put it into that show, which seems like it's perfect for it for the last 4 years. But every season we try to do it, the showrunners come back to us and they say point blank, this is a sledgehammer. This is too over the top. It's too perfect. We don't want to ever use this song. And we keep trying to go back to them with it. But you have to remember, sometimes if you try to hit the head on the nail too perfectly, it's not going to work for them because the creatives in the project usually don't want that, except for maybe advertising.
Right.
Yeah. And you know, it's happened to me actually pitching to artists as well, because sometimes the singer can be too good. And the A&R person will say, you are scaring my artist away. This is an awesome song, but if I play this for the artist, the artist can't sing like your singer. So I've sometimes been asked to re-record a vocal even to dumb it down a little bit so that the artist doesn't get scared. So the A&R guy will run with it.
I had to do that for a songwriter demo for Motown.
Yeah, that exactly. For Motown, it happened a lot, Gail. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should probably wrap this up. We're 30 minutes over, and I want people
Sure.
Yep.
fresh.
I think we're out of questions too, which is good.
What about the meaning of life? Does anyone know the answer to that? Because I'm searching. I'm trying to.
You're supposed to tell us. You're the daddy here, Barry. You're the.
No, I'm the idiot.
42.
Yeah.
42, right, is the answer.
Yeah, 42.
Ice cream is the answer.
I'm gonna go with ice cream. I like that better.
That new Blackpink song, "Ice Cream," that my friend wrote is amazing.
Amen.
Yeah.
Let me just say, you know, tomorrow I'm giving I'm giving a solo one girl show tomorrow here at Springboard. So I hope to see you guys there.
Yeah,
Barry,
it's about
whatever time
your money, all the stuff we're talking about.
Yeah, how to find your money and stuff. People are asking about money, how to sync your music and get paid, how to get your music cut and get paid, how I get paid, and how I find all my money, because I find it, which doesn't make the PROs happy. Yes,
I
find it.
The best person I know on the planet.
Thank you.
I'm like Mark. I know a lot of people.
Thank you.
Yes, exactly.
But it is my expertise. I do know how to find the money. So, right? And there's money to be found.
Oh, and if you guys want a list of sync agents, I gave you my email address. Just email me and I'll send you a link. Also, Barry, did you want me to be here tomorrow for something, right? I think.
Oh, we're doing, part of what we're doing is we're ending the conference just like we're doing here. We'll end tomorrow from an hour later than this panel started, and we're gonna do a breakout room Zoom thing. So anybody who wants to get you guys alone in a Zoom room,
cool.
I just want to kind of bring the band back together. So we'll have a supervisor Zoom room and a manager and all this. Because one of the things that bothers me about these conferences, you'll see these incredible people, and you kind of just want to talk to them. You know,
right,
but doing the Q&A, we're doing the best we can here. But it sure would be nice to look at their face and they can ask a question. So we kind of.
We used to do it live. Tell them how it worked when it was live.
I put everybody, all the mentors in a chair, and then it was like a feeding frenzy to sharks. On your market set, you want 10 minutes with Michelle, go! And then everybody would descend on them and wait for turns, and it's shockingly effective. You know,
it is fabulous.
Yeah, it was. It's forced networking at its finest.
Exactly.
Like speed dating.
Yeah, it was speed dating, and you know, hi, my favorite color is blue, and Michelle, I can tell you like to be in the pool. Did you know I have a hot tub? Yeah.
Come to me, little boy. Come sit in my chair.
we're still flirting because, you know, I certainly can't mix like her husband, but I have a hot tub.
Yes, and he has no hot tub, so you might win. You might win.
I don't know.
Oh,
You're
gosh,
really
guys.
attractive, but he's attractive too in that mix thing. You know?
That's true. We can trade.
Exactly.
You can have him to mix, and I can have your hot tub.
Amen. I'll trade you for it.
Oh, gosh.
Well, it was a pleasure, Mark, and
Thank you,
Michelle,
Gail.
and
Thank you,
Patty,
Gail.
and Barry. You know I love you.
All right, everybody. Everybody wave
Thank
bye.
you, guys.
for having
Thank
me.
you.
Bye, everybody.
everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you so much for having us.
Bye.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.